What is going on, guys? The Inside the Boot podcast, and today we have a Giants preview taking on the Minnesota Vikings, first one of the year. Of course, we did this last year. Not the greatest season, but hey, there are some positives in this Giants team this year to look forward to. Malik Neighbors, of course, being the main spotlight, an improved offensive line, hopefully a better season out of Daniel Jones as a sixth-year starter. Let's hope he stays healthy because I don't want to see anything of Drew Lock. Sure, you can maybe want to see Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito, but I want Daniel Jones to start because right now his job is obviously on the line, and his job is probably gone after this season. And I think with Daniel Jones for Week 1, as we obviously see him on the slideshow to start off this video, he needs to really rely on his wide receivers this year. Now that you have a wide receiver 1 potential in Malik Neighbors, and you have some decent wide 2 options with Wanda Robinson / Darius Slayton / Jalen Hyatt, so you have a decent wide receiver room that could make some noise if they do full out to their potential. Daniel Jones cannot just run these 2-yard, 3-yard, 5-yard checkdowns. It will not work, especially against the Vikings, especially against their upcoming opponents, where we'll get into in later into this episode. But with Daniel Jones, I just need to see, no turnovers in Week 1, and I need to just see him really, show that he actually can play in the Brian Daboll offense, because we saw last year the guy could not play in the advanced playbook that Brian Daboll tried to make. Now, sure, the offensive line was not nearly good at all. 85 sacks allowed this last season. I don't expect that number to be even close this year with guys like Greg Van Roten on the Giants, like Illuminor on the right tackle, no Evan Neal, so there's no worry at all on that right side, in my opinion, because Illuminor is obviously much better than Evan Neal, and Evan Neal is probably the worst right tackle that we've seen in years. Maybe the next Eric Flowers 2.0 bust draft pick. But, yeah, with Daniel Jones, again, feed Malik Neighbors. This guy can run, and he can make those 5-yard checkdowns into 10-yard. Plus, we saw an amazing grab against the Texans in preseason, so even on those bad throws from Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors can come and save him. But, yeah, I need to see a promising Week 1, whether they win or lose. I just need to see a promising Week 1 from Daniel Jones to even have some hope, because last year, a 40-0 loss, your confidence level for the Giants last year probably hit an all-time bikini bottom, rock bottom, with how bad the Giants were last year. But, hey, this Giants team, they have some pieces. On the defensive spot, they added Brian Burns. Dexter Lawrence is one of the best defensive tackles in the league. Deonte Banks, of course, needs to take a leap after having a pretty decent breakout season. But yeah, I mean, with this team, things have to happen, right? And these are the Giants' upcoming games. They're taking on the Minnesota Vikings at their home place, and then they got Washington in their first divisional matchup, and then they got Cleveland. So, I mean, I think the goal here is to be 2-1 after 3 games, and I think if there is somehow a world where they start 0-3, then, I mean, I don't know really what to expect if you even want to have a shot at making the playoffs. The Giants, I think, are like that team that everybody hates. Like, they don't expect them to be good at all. I think the Giants could be a competitive team with not the roster yet, if that makes sense. And I said that last year, that they need to improve the roster. They improved the roster from last year, but is it going to be enough to beat teams like Cleveland, beat teams like the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia Eagles, beat teams like Baltimore, the Bengals? Like, there are a lot of tough games on this schedule for the New York Giants, and we'll see how it plays out. But it should be relatively interesting with how things are going to play out. But like I said, with this offensive line, 85 sacks allowed. I honestly, I'm going to say it right now, I expect that number to be cut in half. I think 40 sacks allowed for the Giants. I think so. Because, I mean, you look at just some of it. It's Evan Neal build up, and also like Mark Lewinsky being terrible. Everybody, Azudu, everybody being terrible. Andrew Thomas out for a majority of the games that Daniel Jones started to add on. This offensive line can't be this bad again. New O-line coach from the Las Vegas Raiders. This team has to be better, right? In terms of the offensive line standpoint. Supposedly they look great in preseason. Supposedly they look great in training camp. That's all nice and all until it gets to the real games, and that's the play. That's the regular season. But I think just with this team, Andrew Thomas is obviously their best option at left tackle. They acquired John Runyon at the left guard. JMS is going to be your center. And then right guard and right tackle are obviously, Aaron Stinney, and I'm probably wrong with that, but definitely Illuminar. I don't know who the right guard's going to be. But comments below, you could definitely fill me in with that. But, yeah, my pick to win the first touchdown award for the New York Giants, it's Darius Slayton. I know. People are probably saying, hey, why didn't you take Malik Neighbors? You've been, building him up so much. I'm going with the sleeper pick of Darius Slayton. Like, I feel like all the defense is going to focus on Malik Neighbors, and they're going to forget about Darius Slayton and that deep threat. Jones is going to throw a bomb. Clip it right now. Jones is going to throw a bomb. Giants going to be up 7-0. And Darius Slayton's going to find the end zone for the first time in the 2024 season. I'll say it right now. That Darius Slayton is a underrated wide receiver in this on this team. He's a good wide receiver too. I mean, he's led the team in the last 4 or 5 seasons in receiving yards. And hey, the guy has really good traits to his game. He's a really good separator, and I mean, the guy can play. It's not like Daniel Jones is thrown to some nobody. Like, Darius Slayton is a reliable wide receiver. And if Malik Neighbors is getting double-teamed all game, feed Slayton, feed Wandale. And if Jalen Hyatt gets reps, I don't know what the future is with Jalen Hyatt right now, but should be a fun week 1, I think. Because I really like this offense just because of their speed, and I think they have really good potential. Like, I think Wandale's a really good slot guy. I think, you got Darius Slayton and Jalen for deep threats. It's a really fun team, I think. But, getting into the next thing. Whoa, not them. We're not talking about the New York Yankees. Our player to watch this week, that's Malik Neighbors, of course. If I wasn't going to put him as a touchdown pick, he's the guy to watch this week. Of what are we going to get with Malik Neighbors in week 1? Are we going to get the Malik Neighbors that is dominant and using his speed and his separation to his advantage? Or are we going to get more of a quiet week 1? Like a 2-reception, 3-reception, 35-yard game. I think Malik Neighbors and Daniel Jones have to connect early in this game if we want any sort of hope for Malik Neighbors to have a strong rookie season. Because Malik Neighbors, right? This is a guy that I said it in the draft that I wanted him. I think I had him in most mock drafts. And I tried to change it up as much as I could in those mock drafts. But I loved Malik Neighbors because of his run after catch. I think it's better than Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Malik Neighbors is better than Marvin Harrison Jr. And I'm not just saying that because the Giants drafted him. I'm saying that because I believe in Malik Neighbors. Now, sure, I know all the NFL fans and everybody who I've talked to has said, but Daniel Jones is throwing the football to him. That is cool and all. But we're not going to forget, I mean, Daniel Jones, whether you love him, whether you hate him, he's an NFL QB. He can throw the football. Like, it's not like his arm is, 100% inaccurate. But the guy can still play, maybe not to an elite level, but he can play. Like, I'm not saying Daniel Jones is just going to throw 4,000 plus yards because Malik Neighbors is a New York Giant. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that Daniel Jones can still be okay this year because he actually has someone to throw to. If you look at all the years of Daniel Jones, his best wide receiver was probably Darius Slayton, and that's not a shot at Darius Slayton at all. But we know that Darius Slayton doesn't have that wide receiver 1 potential. He has that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 potential on most teams, but not that wide receiver 1. And the Giants have been asking for a wide receiver 1 since they traded Odell Beckham Jr. away to the Cleveland Browns. And it's quite ironic, honestly, that the last 2 wide receiver 1s that the Giants drafted was from LSU. But yeah, I think this team can put up a lot of points if Malik Neighbors turns into the player that I think he can be, and it also helps Daniel Jones, with his stats. I mean, if you're a big stat nerd, Daniel Jones could probably throw 150, 200 plus yards because he has Malik Neighbors, if that makes sense. But the thing, I guess, to really wrap up this preview, we don't make previews that long on this channel. We kind of get it straight to the point. The thing with Daniel Jones, I think, of course, is that he's got to win the games that are winnable, right? In these upcoming games, Minnesota is a winnable game. Washington is a winnable game on the road. Cleveland, maybe not. Maybe they dropped their first game there. But we did have our record prediction. We had them at 7-10 before the season, before the preseason too. Sure, I think it's a 4-7 win team. I don't know if they'll get to 9 wins. I think if they get to 9 wins, they'd have to upset a team like Cleveland or Cincinnati or Baltimore, one of those type of teams, if they want to have a real shot, or even splitting with with the Philadelphia Eagles, if they even want to have a real shot at 9 wins. But this is going to be a team that we're going to have to see how Week 1 plays, because if Week 1 is a disaster, the season's going to be a disaster. If Week 1 is a competitive, hard-fought game to the wire, hey, we could have some confidence heading into Week 2, and so on. But yeah, I think to wrap up this video, Brian Daboll is calling plays. Daniel Jones, Brian Daboll have to be on the same page Week 1, or else we're going to have another type of season that Daniel Jones doesn't know the plays and calling stupid audibles. But Daniel Jones has to use his legs too. He does have speed. Despite coming off an ACL tear, he has speed. And I think with the Giants, let's just be competitive this year and then focus on next year. But I don't like to say the offseason, but until this team gets a new quarterback, I don't see them being a elite Super Bowl team. But yeah, that's going to do it for this preview pod. Giants taking on the Vikings. Of course, let's win this Week 1, and let's have a day on Sunday. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.